All right, Rob, let's stay in the NFL. And there was a big trade today. A guy we had on our show back at Super Bowl. You remember the great cornerback for the Detroit Lions, Darius Slay. And he was traded to Philadelphia. Yes, he was traded to Philadelphia. Great. He came up, Not only did he come up in that he went to a better team and he, has a great chance of being in the playoffs and even competing for Super Bowls, but he also got a 3-year, $50 million extension with the trade. So good for him. But it has come out, he says that he lost all respect for the Lions coach, Matt Patricia, because Patricia said something to him that was really just out of something you shouldn't say to another man.
How about foul?
Yeah, foul. That's a great way to put it. Very foul. It's too foul to say on this air. And that's saying a lot.
Otherwise, it would be our last show.
All your talk about Magic City and all that. But anyway, it's much fouler than that. And he said it to Slay, and Slay lost all respect for him as a man. And let's face it, Matt Patricia is lucky he still got a job. Am I right? I mean,
yes,
if we're going to look...
Bob Quinn is the general manager. Bob Quinn came from New England. I mean, the Lions are New England Midwest, Chris. He's taken so many people
minus
and whatnot.
The winning.
Right. But I'm saying, but he's brought a lot of people from New England, and that's how Matt Patricia got that job. When Bob Quinn fired, I just forgot his name.
Jim Caldwell.
Jim Caldwell.
9-7.
He said that wasn't good enough. Remember that? That wasn't good enough.
Didn't Caldwell make the playoffs 2 out of 3 years?
Two of his last three.
Okay.
So Chris, I mean, normally you'd be happy for that. Most guys would get an extension.
Especially in Detroit.
Man, he got shown the door, and now Matt Patricia has won a total of 9 games, Chris, in his first 2 years. Yep. A total of 9.
He's 9-22-1 to be
terrible.
Exact.
Absolutely terrible. And and all he's had is problems with the players since he got there. And obviously I worked there for 22 years, Chris. I'm still tied in with a lot of people there. And I don't hear any good stuff about Matt Patricia. I just don't, coming out of Detroit.
Well, that doesn't make him unique when you talk about a lot of the Belichick disciples. And the Belichick coaching tree, while he may be the GOAT, his coaching tree is far from goatish. Bill O'Brien, now I do give Bill O'Brien credit in Houston for making 4 playoff appearances. I give him credit for that. However, he hasn't been able to get them even close to over the hump. And as a GM now, he's horrible. And he's traded away Jadeveon Clowney. And just recently he traded away arguably the best receiver in the league, DeAndre Hopkins, for a broken down running back that he really didn't need, in my view. Mike Vrabel. Now, Vrabel's done well at Tennessee. 18-14 overall, got the playoff appearance. Mangini, who we just had on the show. Yeah, Mangini was pretty good, in Cleveland and with the Jets. Overall, though, his record's 33-47, 1 playoff appearance. Josh McDaniels, 11-17. Romeo Crennel, 28-55. Brian Flores, who did a good job in his first year in Miami, even though they were only 5-11. We'll see what he goes on to be. But Rob, why do you think? I mean, whether he cheats or not, or has cheated or not, Belichick's success is undeniable. Why do you think his disciples haven't been able to replicate that success anywhere?
Because I don't know if there's some real magic formula that Bill has. I mean, he's had success. He's always had
taping, opponents practice.
There you go. But the one thing that he was a great defensive coordinator with the Giants, Chris. We know that. Won 2 Super Bowls, right? But he had LT, right?
Right.
He had a hell of a defensive. You go back to those teams and look at the players.
Oh, no.
Carl Banks.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go.
Harry Carson,
right? You could go back and look at some of those players on that team. They were tremendous. They were tremendous players, but it was his defense. He was the defensive coordinator. and he's put together really good defenses as well for the Patriots. I don't know what else. So those guys, it's not about being gruff or tough. It's not about being all that stuff, Chris. I think he's a defensive, I guess, genius or one of the. Yeah, I hate to use that word with a guy who's cheated, especially defensively, but he's had a lot of success on the defensive side of the ball. But I don't know. I think a lot of those guys leave New England. They come with their Super Bowl rings, right, which they've gotten along the way, and they feel like, you got to respect me. I'm a winner. Look at these rings, right?
Right.
And they're going to copy Bill's style, gruff, don't care about anybody,
Right.
treat everybody the same. You can't do that when you haven't been a head coach and you don't have the track record. That's nice. Oh, you on Bill Belichick's squad? You were on his coaching staff with Tom Brady? Oh, that's nice. What have you done? Seriously, what have you done?
I think you're making a great point. And I said it a few days ago, and I'm going to say it again. I think it bears repeating. I think Belichick was fortunate to get a superstar, a guy that became a superstar, who had the humility, had the personality to just take that type of coaching. And I'm not going to say he did anything. I don't know what he's done, but I'm not going to say he's done anything like Matt Patricia. But Matt Patricia said to Darius Slay, and you can look it up online, it's there, was out of hand. And I'm not going to say Bill Belichick has said anything like that to his players. But clearly, you said it, Rob. Tough coach, hard-nosed, treats everybody the same. Tom Brady gets treated just like Julian Edelman or Sony Michel or whoever it may be.
Or the long snapper, seriously.
Right. The 48th man on the team or whatever. And Brady could take it. Brady handled it. And because he became, he won 3 Super Bowls in his first 4 years. By that point, whether he was, lighting the league up statistically or not, he was a 3-time Super Bowl champion. He was a superstar at that point. And with him falling in line, every other player in the locker room had no choice but to fall in line. Same thing about the San Antonio Spurs. Greg Popovich, look at Popovich before Tim Duncan came. Nothing special. No great track record or anything like that. Was an assistant coach and was the GM in San Antonio and then took over as the head coach the year David Robinson was hurt and, kept the job, and then they draft Duncan because they were so bad with Robinson being hurt. But Greg Popovich, similar coaching style. And also similar with the media, right? I mean, Belichick, Popovich, neither of them great with the media, and that's kind of become some of their shtick.
Don't you remember
they
Matt
become
Patricia?
kind of beloved for that, right?
You remember?
What was that?
Matt Patricia with the reporter from the ESPN's reporter for the Lions in Detroit. You remember he made a big deal about him slouching.
Right.
Like
Right.
the media thing. Like you should be worried about making the playoffs instead of how the media is sitting in the press.
Exactly.
He made a big stink over it.
Yep. And maybe some of that was the influence of Belichick. But with Popovich, he gets Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is a superstar, a unique superstar who Popovich always says it, he allowed Popovich to coach him, allowed Popovich to yell at him, treat him like any other player, like the 11th, 12th man on the roster. And again, just like Brady, he was so great that when he takes it and he falls in line, then all the other players had to do the same. And I think what you've seen is the Belichick disciples, when they go elsewhere, they try to do that same type of coaching that Belichick does. Again, I'm not saying he's ever gone as far as Patricia, but they try to do the same type of thing, and they don't have that superstar who has that type of personality, who's going to fall in line, let everybody, let the coach talk to him a certain way in front of everybody and take it and set that tone that everybody else kind of wants to follow because he's such a winner in the locker room. So I think it's the two things. I think it's what you said, number one, that these guys step into their new surroundings and they think they have the credibility of several championships, but they really don't because they're just viewed as assistants. And then on top of that, I don't think they get that superstar who falls in line, is in lockstep with the coach and his philosophy and sets that tone that everyone in the locker room ends up following.
Yep, and I think that's another reason. But I think it's unbelievable, the track record that nobody else and Grable is on his way, Chris, with the season he had this year, and you already said it. What is he? 14 and 18. So
he's 18. He's 18 and 14.
18 and 14. So that's not a bad start. You know, when you
2 years, one.
Yeah, you're over
appearance.
500. Yeah, and you had a nice playoff run, and so it is a little alarming that nobody else has been able to emerge. But I don't know if Bill Belichick's style is copyable. Do you know what I mean? Can be copied.
Right.
I don't know. And because everything just seemed to work out. If you think about Belichick in the beginning, and Eric Mangini talked about it, Brady wasn't Brady early on, Chris. They had a great defense.
The superstar.
They had Adam Vinatieri, right? They had a great kicker. And they won those 3 Super Bowls by the skin of their teeth. It was like that. And I think that's where Bill got some of his juice when you put together a football team. And if you remember when they beat the Rams in that Super Bowl, they were double-digit underdogs. I mean, they had the best show on turf, and Bill Belichick was in charge of the defense.
Well, right. And Rob, Mangini pointed out, and I've pointed it out several times, Belichick, I mean, we made one playoff in 5 years in Cleveland. You know, and they ran him out of Cleveland. He got fired.
And he was bad with the media. You remember that too?
He was really, that played a part in, I actually remember I was covering high school sports in the area around that time. And I thought Belichick was good. But once he benched Bernie Kosar and for Vinny Testaverde, you know, Kosar was beloved in Ohio. And because he's from Youngstown. And that just, I mean, the media already didn't like him because he was the way he is now. Right. But that just really soured everybody in Northeast Ohio on him. I thought it was a mistake at the time. But bottom line is he still got fired. He only made the playoffs once out of 5 times. And then in New England, as Mangini said, he 5-11 his first year. So he developed that cachet just like Brady. They both kind of did. Once you win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, now you're on a whole different level. You can kind of do things the way you want to.
Because they didn't have to win again, and people still would have looked at it as, wow.
Right.
That's how big that is.
No doubt. No doubt. So, it's interesting, though, that none of his assistants have really been able to go on and have anything close to the success that he had. So, all right, your turn to weigh in, 877-99 on Fox, 877-996-6369. You can get on the horn with Chris and Rob. Why doesn't the Patriot way seem to work anywhere outside of New England? And in fact, let's face it, Rob, the Patriot way, if that's indeed what Bill O'Brien and Matt Patricia are following, has cost them a few great players over the past few years. In fact, over the past week. Why doesn't the Patriot way seem to work anywhere outside of New England? 877-99 on Fox. Let's hear your opinion.
Let's kick it off with Steve in New York. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Steve?
How's it going, guys? Love listening to you guys.
Thank you, buddy. My man. Thank you.
I tend to agree more with Chris most of the time, but I like your take as well, Rob.
Smart guy.
Come on, Steve. Come on. I'm from New York. What are you saying?
I know, man. I love you both. I think you guys are the yin and the yang. You're
real,
great.
Rob.
When it comes to the Pats, I think what you said, they're not going to be reproducible. I mean, because it was a phenomenon. And this is what Mangini said was right on as far as Brady. He was a creation of Belichick. Belichick could have put Bledsoe back in. He let Brady keep playing. So you got to give Belichick props for that.
Do you think
when it comes to inspiration, players are not going to follow Belichick. They're going to follow Brady because he's humble. He leads by example, just like the example of Mangini put forth, where He could have done commercials on his own. He wanted his offensive linemen in. Brady has always had humility, and that's what players are inspired by. They're not going to be inspired by the hoodie with his, dark ways, because the hoodie will cut you in a second without giving a damn. He's too much business. Brady's got the emotion, the love of the game, and he demonstrates by example, and that's what players will follow. And either way, they would have been better if they all stayed together. They would have had another shot at a Super Bowl, but apart, they'll both be lucky to make the playoffs. But
all right, that was a good call.
No. Good call, Steve. Steve in New York. Let's go to Cedric in San Antonio. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Cedric?
Hi. My thoughts were that those other coaches, once they leave the Patriots, they don't have Brady. And then also, I was wondering what Bill Belichick's record was as a head coach before he got Brady to be his quarterback.
Well, it wasn't good. Look, he was in Cleveland for 5 years. They made the playoffs 1 out of the 5 years. He ends up getting fired. Then his first year in New England. Now, he went to the New York Jets and kind of, like Rob said, he restored his reputation as this great defensive mind.
Giants.
And I'm sorry, the Giants, yeah.
He won the 2 Super Bowls with Bill Parcells. And if you remember when Bill Parcells left as the Jets head coach, Bill Belichick was named the Jets coach.
Because
he was the coach for one day.
The Giants, then with the Jets, right.
For one day, right.
Yep. And then he surprisingly quit. And then he had the situation lined up with New England.
Yep.
But he also, to answer the caller's question, his first year in New England, he was 5-11. And then his second year, they started 0-2. And his starting quarterback, Drew Bledsoe, who was an All-Pro or a Pro Bowler, he got hurt, and Brady takes over, and they go off and win like 11 of their next 13 games, something like that, and win the Super Bowl. So that should answer your question. That's why I always say that I would give Brady more credit than Belichick, as great as Belichick is, for the dynasty.
Yeah, I'm still not there, especially the early Super Bowls. It wasn't about Brady, and Mangini even said that. He wasn't Brady. I mean, he wasn't the Brady.
No, but he still was a
on.
pretty good quarterback.
The first Super Bowl they won, he threw 1 touchdown the entire postseason. But
see, if you're gonna take that approach, then you got to give him credit. You got to give him credit for the year they lost to Philadelphia, and he threw for a record 505 yards.
It's not about yards; it's about points. It's not yards. Don't win you anything.
They put up tons of points too.
No, they didn't. They left points
in that game. What was the score in that game?
They scored 33 points, but there were a couple
you scored 33
situations.
points a game, and you got this guy that you're saying is a defensive genius. You should be able to win.
There were plenty of games where the Super Bowls that the defense was great. I'm
Jacksonville just cut. I'm just saying, if you're gonna take the approach that I don't give Brady credit because he only threw
yards.
1 TD, 33 points is a lot, Rob.
I'm just saying.
You act like they scored 14. 33 is enough to win.
But there were other points that they left on the field that game.
Fine. Right. If Belichick was this, he shouldn't have let a backup quarterback put more than 33 points on him.
Well, Brady should have had put more points on the board.
33 is plenty.
With 500 yards passing?
500
I'm just
yards? Saying to follow your logic.
Is it yards or points?
It's both.
No, it's
you
not.
You need yards to get points.
Take that back.
Both.
It ain't.
Why do
it ain't nothing to do with yards. It's about points.
Okay, so every touchdown going to be a 1-yarder?
How do you
march down the field, Rob?
How do you determine the winner of a game? Is it by yards or points? That's all I'm asking you.
Of course, points is
all right,
most
then
important.
Points is the most important
what
thing that
leads
matters.
To points, Rob?
No,
yards.
But it doesn't. It doesn't have to be. Chris, you could get a turnover and a defense can set you up and you can score from 20 yards out. It's not about yards.
How often does that happen, Rob?
I'm telling you. The Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, they scored more points than the offense in that Super Bowl. They intercepted the ball and ran it back.
That's one Super Bowl
I'm telling you,
out
it can happen. It can happen.
I'm not saying it hasn't happened before, but the rule. You're bringing up an exception.
Stop throwing that 500 yards. They don't mean anything. It's about points.
Yards don't mean anything.
They don't. It's
so when
about
Garoppolo threw for 8 times, or when Ryan Tannehill threw for 80 yards, it didn't mean anything. He had a tremendous game.
Mike in New York, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio.
What's up, you guys? I haven't been able to talk to you guys. I've been sick.
You all
You
right?
all right?
Yeah, I'm better now.
Did you
But
you
Chris,
sick? You sick? Did you have to get tested or anything?
Nah. It wasn't that. But Chris Yards don't mean nothing.
Okay.
You can stop them and get field goals. They can get up and down the field they want.
Look, how do you get in field goal or scoring position? You get yards. Stop it. I'm not saying yards is the end all. Of course, points is the ultimate, but yards matter. It's like saying assists and rebounds don't matter because what's on the scoreboard? Points.
Mike, did you get to make your point?
Yeah, I'm going to just give them to the Patriots, but it doesn't matter when you get those yards. But I think the reason why the coaches haven't been good in other franchises is because they always end up going to like a garbage franchise, a franchise with bad history. And I think because Bill's smart enough to not share all of his and his cheating tactics with his assistants because of what happened with Eric Mangini. He knows not to share certain things that keep him above 500. He knows what he's doing.
All right, thanks, Mike. And the other thing I got to say real quick, when he said that they get bad teams, that's why the coach prior to them got fired because the team was bad, right?
Right.
You don't replace
you
a coach who just made the playoffs or have a winning record. So every coaching change is based on the team didn't perform.
Yep. And it's up to you to turn them around.
Yes, that's why you got the job.
That's right.
Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Mark?
What's going on, gentlemen?
What's happening, man? How are you?
Hey, pretty good. Hey, real quick, I think one other thing that happened with Belichick that none of those coaches will ever happen to them. He won with him early, so he earned his trust. That's why Brady gave back all that money all those years. He earned his trust early when they won the Super Bowl. So when that happened, Brady deferred to him for a long time. So I think that when you earn his trust, those other coaches will never have that. And we got a different generation of athlete the last 20 years. You're not going to take that kind of crap that some of these coaches try to do to them. And if you want to look,
right.
That's what I think.
The other part too is athletes make a lot more money. It's totally different. It's just different. You didn't have all the guaranteed money that you have in the NFL. That you had to earn your contract every year. It was totally different.
Right on the money, Rob. Hey, and if you millennials want to see a coaching tree, there's only one coaching tree to take a look at. Go take a look at Bill Walsh's coaching tree. Nothing compares to it. You guys have a good one. I'll take care of you guys.
Yep, you too. Have a good weekend, man. Hang in there.
No, that's true. And that's kind of what I said. Like Tom Brady would take it, or Tim Duncan would take it.